Hi guys, if you have not learned the containerization so far, believe me, you are living in the stone age. Do you know containerization is the integral part of every tech companies today and even the startups? So what are you waiting for? In this video, I will explain you the containerization in the simplest manner. So next time you meet someone, you will never say that you don't know containerization. So let's get started. So let's understand what is containerization. So imagine you are trying to organize your kids' room that is very messy, that is full of soft toys, remote cars, blocks. What will you do? You will bring those beautiful containers from that supermarkets, right? Just like I do, and put each item in its own containers, like blocks in one container, soft toys in another containers, remote car in another one, right? That's what we do as a parents, right? That's how we organize our kids room. But wait, next time your kids wants to play with the remote car, he may have to find out the batteries, the remotes, or maybe the manual somewhere else, right? So in order to make this hassle free, this time you put all the dependencies of the remote car in the same container. Okay, so the next time your kid doesn't have to find out all those missing objects. So that is exactly what is containerization in the tech world also, where each application get its own container with all its dependencies, and it is the ultimate organizing method. Assume you have an application has a front end written in node.js, it has a back end written in java, and it has a mysql database. Traditionally, what we used to do, we used to make a single monolithic application that is a front end, back end, database, all written at one place. But not anymore. Now, 90% of the company follow microservices architecture, where your bigger application are divided into smaller chunks, smaller application, and then these smaller applications, also called as microservices, they run inside their own containers. So you got the idea what is containerization and in which architecture we use them? So, containerization is the process of bundling your application along with the dependencies and running them in their isolated environment that is called as containers. So, let's talk more about containerization. So, do you remember I talked about those toys containers that you have bought to organize your kids' toys? Imagine you can take these boxes anywhere to any friend's house. The toys would work perfectly there, no matter what kind of room they have. Why? Because everything the toy needs is in the box, right? Just the same way containers are like that. You can run them on any system without a hitch because they carry their own environment with them. So, no matter if you run the containers on Windows, on Linux, they will work the same way, which means your application is now portable. You can take that application and run on any environment, it will run the same way. So, what containerization provide? It provides you the portability. It provides you the super fast setups. Okay, what more? Scalability. So today your application, let's say, is running in one container. Let's say more traffic starts coming to your application. Now you want to create more containers. So it's an easy and peasy task. Okay, so that's what a containerization is. So the question might be coming in your mind, how can you do that? Right? How can you run your application inside a container? So for that, we need a technology, and that technology is Docker. So Docker is a technology that enables containerization. Okay, let me tell you exactly with an example. Let's say you want to run a Python application inside a container. Okay, so before I can show you how can you run it inside a container, let's do it without the containers. So guys, if I ask you, you have to run that Python application on a server, what will you do? You will install the Python, right? That will be the first step. You will add your code to that server machine. And let's say your Python application is using some dependencies, maybe NumPy, some other libraries. You will install those dependencies, maybe using the pip install command. And then finally, you set some environment variables and then you run your Python code. So, can you imagine every time you have to run on a new machine, you have to repeat those manual steps? So, the first step in the world of containerization, in the world of Docker, is we create instruction files. And that is called as a Docker file where we write all these manual instruction inside a file. So, let me show you what a Docker file looks like. So let's say this is my Python application. Okay, let's say this is the code that I want to run somewhere on a server. So this is a web application, very small, very tiny web application, and it is using Python Flask library. And every time it runs, it just say hello world on the port number 5000. A very simple tiny application, but I want to run this application inside the container. So the first step is I will create a Docker file, that is your instruction file. Can you see? These are all the instructions that we have written here. It's just exactly the same. We are installing Python, we are adding our code, we are installing the Flask library that is required for this code to run, and then finally we are running our Python application using the Python command. So this is your first step in the process of containerization, creating your Docker file. So now you got your Docker file that I have already shown you. From that Docker file, you are going to create a Docker image. So let me explain you what is a Docker image before I show you the process how to create a Docker image. Let's imagine you want to bake a delicious cake. So what will you need? You need the recipe. You will need all the ingredient for that cake, right? And you need the instruction how to mix them and how to bake your cake. That is exactly what is a Docker image. So Docker image is a recipe along with the ingredients for your computer program. So, just as the recipe tells you everything to make your delicious cake, Docker image tells the computer program everything about how to run your application inside the containers. Not just the recipe, it will have your code, your dependencies, your libraries, everything bundled together. That is what a Docker image is. So I hope you got the idea what is a Docker image. Now let me show you how you can create a Docker image from a Docker file. If I want to create a Docker image from this, I just have to run a Docker build command. I'm saying build an image, give it a name, my image, and use this Docker file. That's all I need to do to create my Docker image. So you might be thinking how these Docker commands are running on my system. So guys, I have a tool installed that is called as a Docker desktop that is installed on my machine, and it understands all the Docker commands. Okay, so can you see my image creation is now done? If I show you Docker images, so can you see here? Okay, this is my image that I just created with that Docker build command. So that's an easy peasy process. So now once you have the image, the next step is to run containers out of it. Again, running container is very simple. You just have to run a docker run command. So let me show you the same, the docker run command. So I can say docker run and give the name of my image. Okay, so that is all. Can you see I got something, some big huge number, that is your container ID. So if I'll just show you, I got my container running, okay, with this image on my system. Okay, so this container is running on the port number 5000, but I want to expose this port on my local machine at the port number 8082. So I'm doing something called as port forwarding just to show you what is actually running. So let me say localhost 8082, and can you see something called as hello world here? So from where this is coming? This is coming from that container, and inside that container this application is running, and this application is saying hello world. So I hope you got the entire process of containerization. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't forget to like this video. Thank you so much for your precious time.